You know how some nights feel off before they even start? That was this night. My wife, Claire, insisted we go to this special dinner. She said it was important, like she was offering me some grand olive branch. I should have known better. When your wife of 15 years suddenly puts on a dress she hasn't worn since the Obama administration and hums while doing her makeup, it's not for you. The restaurant was one of those trendy spots where the waiters wear suspenders unironically and water costs more than gasoline. I was already annoyed. But when we got there, Claire wasn't alone at the table. He was. Chase, her co-worker. The guy she swore up and down was just a friend from the office. He looked like the kind of man who spends more on protein powder than groceries. Black shirt too tight, teeth too white, smile too smug. He stood up like we were old pals about to reminisce. Logan, Claire said, smiling way too brightly. This is Chase. I've mentioned him before. Yeah, I said, shaking his hand. You've mentioned him. The handshake told me everything. He squeezed just a little too hard. The kind of squeeze that says, I know something you don't. We sat down. Claire kept laughing at every dumb thing out of his mouth, flipping her hair like she was auditioning for a shampoo commercial. I sat there, wondering if this was still my wife or if I'd wandered into a badly scripted sitcom. Then Chase leaned in, lowered his voice, and said, I'll make this simple, Logan. You've got two options. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. I blinked at him. Excuse me. Claire put her hand on his arm. His arm. Please, don't be dramatic. I chuckled. Not the warm kind. The kind that makes people nervous. So let me get this straight. You invited me out here so your new boyfriend could break up my marriage for you? Classy. Chase smirked. It's better this way. I leaned back, smiling like I'd just heard the world's funniest joke. See, here's the thing, Chase. I don't lose quietly, and I don't leave without a plan. Claire's smile faltered for the first time all night. She didn't know it yet, but I'd already been a step ahead of her for weeks. Because I'd seen the signs. The late nights. The mysterious perfume. The way she suddenly started guarding her phone like it was nuclear codes. And me? I wasn't the kind of man who ignored patterns. I was the kind of man who collected evidence. Quietly. Patiently. And if she thought tonight was the ambush, she had no idea what was coming. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't usually show up out of nowhere. It creeps in slowly, one red flag at a time, until one day you realize your house is full of them and you're practically living in a parade. I'd noticed Claire's flags months before this dinner. Her new late meetings. The way she suddenly cared about her phone battery, carrying a charger everywhere like she was keeping a heart alive on life support. And then there was the laugh. You know, that soft little giggle she used to save just for me. It was back, only never when I was around. So yeah, I'd been watching. I'm not the kind of man who kicks down doors screaming, how could you? Nope. I'm the kind who plays chess, not checkers. So while she thought she was being slick, I was 3 moves ahead. First, the phone. I didn't go through it, too obvious. I mirrored it. A little app, legal as long as it's on the family plan. Every text she sent to the girls came to me too. Spoiler, the girls weren't texting her about spin class. Then the car. New cologne in the passenger seat. Uber receipts on her email, even though she told me she was working late. That told me exactly how much time she had before coming home, and how long I had to act like I believed her excuses. And finally, the photos. Not the kind you're imagining. No, just little details. Her smile when his name popped up. Her ring finger tan line fading when she started forgetting to wear the wedding band. A lipstick shade I hadn't seen since before we got married. By the time we got to that dinner, I already had a folder on my laptop titled Plan B. So when Chase leaned across that table, all testosterone and teeth, and told me to leave quietly, I almost laughed in his face. Because what he didn't know, what Claire didn't know, was that this wasn't me losing. This was me letting them dig their own graves while I measured the dirt. Claire looked at me nervously. Logan, please don't make a scene. I smiled at her. A scene? No, sweetheart. I'm not making a scene. I'm just collecting. She frowned. Collecting what? You'll see. I raised my glass to Chase, like we were old friends sealing a deal. To surprises. He smirked, clueless. She shifted in her chair, uncomfortable. And me? I just sipped my wine, knowing that by the time I was done, neither of them would see it coming. The thing about liars is, they forget their own lies. They stack them up like Jenga blocks, thinking they'll never topple. Claire was no different. 3 nights after the dinner, she told me she was heading to yoga. Funny thing, though, her yoga mat was still in the trunk. I noticed when I checked the car earlier. Small details like that, they matter. So I waited. She came home late, hair damp, smelling faintly of cologne that definitely wasn't hers. She tried to slide past me with a quick, "Hey, babe," class ran long. I smiled. "Hot yoga, huh?" She blinked, caught off guard. "Yeah. What?" I leaned against the counter, keeping my tone casual. "Just asking. Thought you left your mat in the car." Her eyes flickered. A tiny, half-second tell. If you blinked, you'd miss it. But I didn't blink. "Oh, I borrowed one from the studio." She said it too fast. The kind of answer you spit out when you've rehearsed nothing. I just nodded. Makes sense. That was the thing. I never called her out directly. Not yet. I just let her keep lying. Knowing the more rope I gave her, the better the knot she'd hang herself with. A week later, I forgot my phone at home while she went out. Left an old one on the dresser, screen cracked, but still working. I watched from the guest room camera as she picked it up, scrolled through my messages, checked my call log. She was digging, searching for dirt on me. That's when I knew she was paranoid. And paranoia meant fear. The next morning, I tried a little test. Over breakfast, I said, "Hey, my buddy invited us to a dinner Saturday. Should be fun." She stiffened. "Saturday? Oh, I think I have plans." "With who?" I asked, casually buttering my toast. She hesitated. "The girls." I set the knife down, looked her in the eye, and smiled. "That's funny. Because Chloe called me last night. Said she hasn't seen you in weeks." Her fork froze midair. "You talked to Chloe?" "Yeah." I sipped my coffee. "She's worried about you." Claire forced a laugh, too sharp to be real. She must have forgotten. "Anyway, I'll see if I can move things around." And that's when I knew. She was officially rattled. See, the strongest move isn't confrontation. It's patience. It's letting them believe they're still in control while you quietly shift the board beneath them. Claire thought she was playing me. She didn't realize the game had already started, and she was losing. It's funny how people think betrayal hits you like a train. Truth is, it creeps up on you like a shadow. By the time you notice, it's already covering everything. By the time Saturday rolled around, I had a plan. Not revenge, not yet. That comes later. This was reconnaissance. You don't burn down the house until you've mapped all the exits. Claire claimed she was meeting the girls again. I kissed her goodbye, even held the door for her, like a gentleman. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume that wasn't the kind she used to wear. The scent alone was evidence. As soon as she drove off, I grabbed the second phone. See, I'd mirrored her messages weeks ago. And like clockwork, a text popped up from a number saved as Kara Yoga. "Cute. Can't wait to see you. Same hotel. Room 314. Subtle as a brick through a window." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Instead, I grabbed my keys and headed out. Now, I wasn't going there to cause a scene. You don't kick down doors screaming. How could you? That's how amateurs operate. Me? I wanted proof. Something undeniable. The hotel was one of those mid-range places off the highway. Businessmen on layovers. Couples working late. I knew the type. I parked across the street, waiting. 10 minutes later, Claire's car rolled in. She stepped out, smoothing her dress, and my stomach twisted, not because of heartbreak, because of the sheer performance. She checked her hair in the reflection, added a smile, and walked in like she'd been doing it for months. 5 minutes later, Chase appeared. Tight shirt again, like he was trying to flex his way through life. He strolled in behind her. I let them have 10 minutes. Then I walked in myself. Not toward their room. Not even toward the elevator. I went straight to the front desk. "Excuse me," I said, smiling. "I think my wife might have checked in early. Could you confirm if Claire Evans booked a room?" The clerk blinked. I'm not sure we can." I slid my driver's license across the counter. "I'm on the card. Joint account. You can check." She hesitated, then typed. "Room 314. "Bingo. Thanks," I said, pocketing a receipt she didn't realize she'd left sticking out. That slip of paper had Claire's signature and tonight's date on it. Evidence number one. I didn't go upstairs. Not yet. Instead, I left. Drove home. Sat at the kitchen table, staring at the clock until Claire walked back through the door at midnight. "Yoga ran long," she said, hanging up her coat like it was nothing. I looked up from my book. "Oh yeah? Must have been intense." She smiled faintly. "Yeah, I'm exhausted." I watched her walk past me, the perfume trailing behind her like a confession. And I smiled to myself, Because I wasn't exhausted at all. I was just getting started. The next morning, I made coffee like nothing had happened. Claire stumbled down in her robe, yawning, acting like the faithful wife she wanted to be seen as. "You're up early," she said, pouring herself a mug. "Yeah, figured I'd get a head start." I handed her a slice of toast. "Busy day ahead." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what's going on?" "Just tying up loose ends." I took a slow sip, watching her face. She had no idea what I meant. And why would she? She thought she still owned the narrative. Later that week, I reached out to Chloe. Now, Chloe was her old friend, the one she always avoided inviting to dinners. I knew why now. Chloe was blunt. Too blunt for Claire's taste. We met at a park. She arrived in jeans and a hoodie, no frills, no fake smiles. She sat beside me, arms crossed. "Why am I here?" she asked. "Because you're the only one who doesn't buy her act." Chloe looked at me, then sighed. "So you finally know." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Hotel on Maple. Room 314. Last Saturday." Her eyes widened, then softened. "Guess I don't need to sugarcoat it then." She pulled out her phone. I didn't want to get in the middle, but you deserve to know. She handed me the screen. Photos. Claire, laughing too hard, leaning too close to Chase. A drink in her hand. His arm around her waist. Nothing explicit, but damning enough. I studied them calm. "Thank you." Chloe tilted her head. "You're taking this well." "I'm not taking it. I'm storing it." Her eyebrows rose. "What are you going to do?" I gave a thin smile. "You'll see." That night, I came home early. Claire was in the kitchen, humming, phone in hand. She looked up, startled. "You're home already?" "Yeah," I said casually, setting my briefcase down. "Thought we could have dinner together." Her smile was stiff. "That's nice." We ate in silence. Halfway through, she said, "I might go out tomorrow night." Girls' night. I looked up, chewing slowly. Room 314 again. The fork froze halfway to her mouth. "What?" she whispered. I smiled faintly. "Just asking." Her eyes darted, searching my face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure." I set my fork down. "But I'll tell you something, Claire. If you're going to lie, you should at least hide the receipt." She went pale. I stood, carried my plate to the sink. "You don't need to explain." "Not yet." She stared at me, lips parted. "Not yet." I turned, meeting her eyes. "Because, sweetheart, I'm not finished collecting." And with that, I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her with nothing but silence and the sound of her own panic. Here's the thing. Claire thought she was clever. She thought she was playing a secret game. But the truth? She'd already lost the moment she underestimated me. And I wasn't about to stop at proof. Proof was just the opening act. The main event? That was still coming. If you asked Claire back then, she'd probably tell you I was a calm, predictable man. The type who folds his socks, pays his bills early, and orders the same thing at restaurants. She wasn't entirely wrong. What she didn't know was that I'm also the type who plays the long game. And I'd just moved my first real piece. The morning after I dropped the receipt comment, she was different. Jumpy. Distracted. She tried harder than usual to act affectionate. A hand on my shoulder when she walked by, a quick kiss before leaving. The kind of gestures you use to keep someone from asking too many questions. I didn't call her out. Not once. That's the beauty of patience. Silence is scarier than confrontation. Over the next week, I let her think she was safe. I left my phone out, made small talk, even laughed at her stories like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, I was busy pulling strings behind the curtain. First, the finances. Claire had always handled the day-to-day bills. That changed. Quietly, I rerouted my paycheck into a new account she didn't know existed. Canceled the joint credit card she liked to max out on work expenses. When she asked why the grocery card got declined, I shrugged. Bank glitch. I'll call them. She didn't suspect a thing. Next, the house. The deed was in both our names, but the insurance? Solely mine. I updated the policy quietly. Just paperwork, really, but it put me in a position she wouldn't see coming. And then there was Chase. I needed to know more about him if I was going to dismantle both of them without lifting a finger. Turns out, he wasn't just her coworker. He was her boss. Divorced, mid-30s, a reputation for being charming but reckless. Exactly the kind of man Claire couldn't resist. I had to laugh. She traded a steady husband for a cliché in a fitted shirt. The turning point came on a Thursday night. She waltzed in later than usual, hair messy, excuses thinner than tissue paper. "Sorry," she said, dropping her purse. Traffic was a nightmare. I smiled. Funny. I checked the traffic report. Roads were clear. Her eyes flickered. Oh, must have been construction. I leaned back in my chair. Claire, let's cut the small talk. Why don't you just tell me where you were? She froze. What do you mean? Room 314. Her jaw tightened. You've been spying on me? I laughed softly. No, sweetheart. You've been handing me the evidence. I just stopped ignoring it. She set her purse down slowly, like she was choosing her words with tweezers. Logan, we're not happy. You know that. Chase makes me feel alive again. Alive. As if I'd been keeping her in a coffin all these years. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even stand. I just said, then you should be with him. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected that. She expected a fight, tears, maybe begging. Not calm agreement. You're okay with that? She asked cautiously. Of course. I smiled. You deserve to be happy. Relief flickered across her face. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd gotten what she wanted without consequence. That's when I set the trap. Tell you what, I said smoothly. Why don't we invite Chase over for dinner this weekend? Make it official. I'd like to shake the hand of the man making my wife so happy. She blinked. What? Come on, Claire. If this is the new chapter, let's start it the right way. No more secrets. She stared at me, clearly torn. But her ego, her ego couldn't resist. This was her victory lap. Dinner with her husband and her lover at the same table. Proof she'd won. All right, she said softly. Saturday night. I nodded. Perfect. The next 2 days, I prepared. Not food. I wasn't cooking for him. I prepared paperwork. Emails. Screenshots. Bank records. Everything I'd been collecting in my little Plan B folder. I organized it neatly into a leather binder. And Saturday night, when Chase knocked on the door, I was ready. Claire floated into the kitchen in a red dress I hadn't seen in years. She poured wine, laughing too hard at his jokes, her hand brushing his arm like she couldn't help herself. Logan, she said brightly, you remember Chase? Oh, I remember. I shook his hand firmly, holding his eyes just a second too long. We sat. Claire chattered nervously. Chase grinned like a man who thought he'd won the lottery, and I smiled like the host of a game show only I knew the rules to. Halfway through the meal, I set down my fork. So, Chase, I said casually, how's work treating you? He smirked. Busy. You know how it is. I do, I said. But I imagine things will get busier once HR gets that little packet on Monday. His grin faltered. Excuse me. I slid the leather binder across the table. He opened it, flipped through the first few pages, and went pale. Screenshots of texts. Hotel receipts. Photos from Chloe. Time-stamped. Dated. Undeniable. This is, he stammered. Evidence, I said evenly, of a manager sleeping with a subordinate. Company policy doesn't look too kindly on that, does it? Claire gasped. Logan, how could you? Relax, I said, sipping my wine. It's just a copy. The original's already with your HR department. Should make for an interesting Monday. Chase's face drained of color. He shoved the binder back toward me, standing abruptly. You won't. Oh, I will. I smiled coldly. See, Chase, I don't lose quietly. And you? I gestured toward the door. You're already finished. He left without another word. Claire sat frozen, her fork trembling in her hand. You ruined him. I leaned forward. No, Claire. You ruined us. I just made sure you didn't get to enjoy it. She stared at me, stunned. For the first time in months, she had nothing to say. I stood, collected the binder, and headed for the door. By the way, I added casually, you might want to check our bank account. Or what's left of it. Her face twisted. What did you do? I smiled. Let's just say I've been tying up loose ends. And with that, I left her sitting in the wreckage she'd built for herself, wine glass shaking in her hand. She thought the dinner was her coronation. She didn't realize it was her funeral. And the best part? The game wasn't over yet. Because destroying her boyfriend's career was only the beginning. People think the worst part about being cheated on is the moment you find out. Wrong. The worst part is watching them still strut around like they've won, long after you've already planned their downfall. After Chase bolted from our dinner like a man running from a fire, Claire sat there in stunned silence. It was almost funny. She looked like a queen at a banquet who'd just realized the crown jewels were fake. You didn't have to do that, she whispered finally. I leaned back, sipping my wine. Didn't I? You invited him into my home, Claire. Into my life. Into us. I figured the least I could do was return the favor in his career. Her lips parted, but no words came out. And I could see it in her eyes. Panic. Not guilt. Not sadness. Panic. Because she knew her shiny new escape plan had just gone up in smoke. I left her there that night. Didn't say where I was going. Didn't ask if she'd be all right. I grabbed my coat and walked out, leaving her with nothing but the echo of her own decisions. For the next few days, Claire tried to play it cool. She acted like she was angry, slammed a few doors, gave me the silent treatment. But anger's just a mask panic wears when it doesn't want to be seen naked. On Monday, I made sure to work from home. Not because I had to, because I wanted to be there when the call came. It did. 11:17 a.m. sharp. She answered in the kitchen, her voice bright and fake. Hi. Yes, this is Claire Evans. I leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her face change in real time. First came the frown, then the lip bite, then the flush that crawled up her neck. She glanced at me once, quickly, then turned away like a child hiding a bad report card. When she hung up, she just stood there, gripping the counter. Rough call, I asked, my voice casual. She didn't answer. Let me guess, I continued. HR wanted to discuss a few extracurricular activities with your manager? She spun around. Logan, how could you? I raised an eyebrow. How could I? Claire, I didn't cheat on me. You did. I just made sure the fallout landed where it belonged. Her eyes welled up, but no tears fell. Claire wasn't a crier. She was a planner. And right now, her plan had just been burned to the ground. That night, she tried a different tactic. Logan, she said softly, sliding into the chair across from me. We can work through this. We've been together 15 years. Doesn't that mean something? I looked at her, really looked. The same woman who once stayed up late with me eating ice cream straight from the carton was now bargaining for scraps of stability. It means I gave you 15 years you'll never get back, I said evenly. Her face crumpled, just for a moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. So what now? Divorce. I smiled faintly. Oh, we'll get there. But not yet. Not yet. Not yet, I repeated. See, Claire, divorce is the finale. But before that, there's the show. The next act came quicker than she expected. Wednesday evening, we had dinner with some friends, mutual friends. The kind who loved Claire's polished image of the perfect wife and the steady husband. She spent the first half of the evening doing what she always did, laughing too loudly, telling little stories at my expense, painting me as the dull but lovable husband. Then dessert came. That's when I slid my phone across the table, the screen lit up with a single photo. Claire froze mid-laugh. One of the hotel photos. Nothing graphic, just her, grinning too wide, a drink in her hand, Chase's arm wrapped around her waist. What's that? One of our friends asked, leaning closer. Claire's face went pale. That's nothing. Just an old work event, I said smoothly. Funny how work events look like dates when you zoom in. The table went quiet. You could hear the air conditioner hum. I didn't explain. I didn't accuse. I just let the silence eat her alive. She excused herself 5 minutes later, pretending to take a call. Our friends looked at me with a mix of pity and curiosity. I just shrugged. That night, Claire cornered me in the kitchen. You're trying to humiliate me, she hissed. No, I said calmly. You're humiliating yourself. I'm just letting people see it. You're destroying me. I leaned in slightly. No, Claire. I'm reminding you. You're not untouchable. The following week, I moved into the guest room. She didn't stop me. Didn't even ask why. She just pretended not to notice, as if ignoring it would make it go away. That's when I started packing. Not everything. Just enough for her to notice the empty spaces. The chair I always sat in. My side of the closet. The coffee mug I used every morning. Gone. She finally asked on Friday. What are you doing? Creating space, I said simply. For what? For the end. Her lip trembled. You can't just. I cut her off. Can't I? Claire, you've spent months living a double life. I'm just evening the score. The cruelest part, at least for her, was how calm I was. She expected shouting. She expected me to crumble, to beg, to give her the satisfaction of watching me break. Instead, I gave her silence, precision, and a smile that told her the game wasn't over. Every time she thought she'd figured out my next move, she realized she was already 2 steps behind. And she hated it. One night, as I was heading to bed, she stopped me in the hallway. Logan, she whispered, do you still love me? I looked at her for a long moment. The woman who used to be my best friend, my partner, my world, standing there like a stranger. No, I said finally. I respect myself too much to love someone who doesn't respect me. She flinched, like I'd slapped her without lifting a hand. Then I walked away. Here's the thing about Claire. She thought I'd fold. She thought her betrayal would leave me in pieces, easy to sweep aside, while she moved on with her shiny new boyfriend. But the truth? She was the one cracking, piece by piece. And I hadn't even shown her the end game yet. Because if she thought losing Chase was bad, she had no idea what was coming when I turned the knife. Claire started to realize the walls were closing in. Chase had gone radio silent. HR pulled her aside more than once. And at home, I wasn't fighting her. I was smiling. That's what scared her most. One night, she tried to corner me in the living room. Logan, I need to know where we stand. Where we stand. I chuckled. We stand exactly where you put us, Claire. Me over here, you over there, with a canyon in between. Don't look at me for a bridge. She tried to argue, but I just stood up, left her mid-sentence, and went to bed. Nothing cuts deeper than being dismissed. Meanwhile, I'd been busy. See, Claire had a carefully cultivated social circle. PTA friends, book club, coworkers. People who believed she was a flawless wife with a steady marriage. So I let a few photos leak. Just a couple. Nothing scandalous, but enough for whispers to start. Enough for people to look twice when she walked into a room. The queen was losing her throne, and she knew it. Saturday morning, she finally cracked. I found her at the kitchen table, hair messy, clutching a mug she hadn't touched. This isn't fair, she muttered. Life rarely is. You're trying to ruin me. No, I said calmly. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure you don't get to walk away smiling. She slammed the mug down. I made a mistake, Logan. A mistake. 15 years, and you're going to throw it away. I leaned against the counter. You didn't make a mistake, Claire. You made a choice. And choices have consequences. She stood, trembling. So what now? You divorce me? Take everything. I smiled faintly. Oh, sweetheart. If I divorced you today, you'd get half. I'm not giving you half. Her breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying you'll walk away with nothing. And you won't see it coming until it's too late. A week later, I invited a few close friends and family over for dinner. Claire didn't know until the doorbell rang. What's this? She whispered as people started filing in. Just dinner, I said smoothly. To celebrate new beginnings. She tried to smile through it, acting like the perfect hostess. But I watched her hands shake as she poured wine. Halfway through the meal, I stood. I have an announcement, I said. All eyes turned to me. Claire froze. I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight. You've all known Claire and me a long time. You've seen us through the good and the bad. And it's only fair you hear this from me. Claire's eyes widened. Logan, don't. I laid a neat stack of papers on the table. Claire and I will be separating. She's been exploring other options. I won't go into detail, but I wanted you to hear it directly from me. Gasps. Murmurs. Claire sat pale as a ghost, staring at the papers. They're not divorce papers, I continued. Not yet. Just a separation agreement. One where she walks away without alimony, without the house, and without access to the accounts she hasn't touched in weeks. Someone asked quietly, why would she sign that? I smiled. Because if she doesn't, the other version of this packet, the one with photos, texts, and receipts, becomes very public. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. I looked right at her. It's your move. She signed 2 days later. Quietly. No fight. No lawyer. No shouting. Just a trembling hand and a signature that ended 15 years. She thought I'd gloat. Thought I'd laugh in her face. But I didn't. I just nodded, collected the papers, and walked away. The last time I saw her, she was standing in the doorway of the house that was now entirely mine. Hair unwashed, eyes red, a woman who'd gambled everything and lost it all. Was it worth it? I asked softly. She didn't answer. I turned, stepped into the sunlight, and never looked back. Here's the kicker, though. Months later, I heard Chase lost his job. Claire tried to chase him down, but he ghosted her the second she stopped being fun. Last I checked, she was renting a one-bedroom apartment and working a temp job. Me? I kept the house, kept my friends, kept my dignity. People say revenge doesn't fix anything. Maybe not, but it sure does make the ending a lot more satisfying. And the best part? She never saw it coming until the knife was already in.